Hey guys and gals, it's Mr. Forgione. Hopefully you guys had a somewhat restful extended spring break. I know that there's all sorts of craziness going on right now with uncertainty with coronavirus, testing, all sorts of different things. So I wanted to make this video first off to just give you an update on what I know right now. And then secondly, to do a little bit of a review, actually instead of econ, going back and doing a little bit of government review, and I'll explain why here in just a couple minutes. So first off, what we've heard from the College Board, which is the entity that produces the AP exam, what we know at this point from them is that there's still going to be an AP test that you can take that would be online. It would be one written response question, and it would be 45 minutes. So scaling way down, no multiple choice option. That's what we know right now from the AP. We are supposed to get an update on April 3rd, which is, I believe, next Friday. So, or this coming Friday, I should say, April 3rd. That's when we get an update on what topics would be possibly on that exam. So rather than go through a whole bunch of micro right now, only to find out, hey, that's not actually going to be covered on there, I thought it might be better to start talking a little bit more about government since we've already been through that course, and no matter what they throw on there, we should have covered it by this point. So I thought maybe that would be a good opportunity for us today to kind of kick things off, review a little bit there. I'll do some type of AP micro review later on in the week, and then as we get additional information, I'll relay that to you via YouTube as well as via email. If hopefully at this point you guys have gotten a couple of emails from me, if you have not, do me a favor, go ahead and email me. It's forgionejj at gm.sbac.edu. You guys can go ahead and email me if you haven't been getting the emails so I can make sure that we figure out what's going on with that. So with that said, today I want to review a little bit of Gov for you guys, and what I really want to talk about more than anything else is the legislative branch, Congress, because that's really probably the most important for the AP exam. Now certainly you'll get stuff on the presidency on there, you'll get stuff about the Supreme Court, we'll get court cases, and I'll give you a chance to kind of look over those and review those as well. But I want to start today talking a little bit about Congress. Now, one thing that they always like to throw on there to some extent, again, I know we're in uncharted waters here with how they're doing the AP, but one thing that they do typically like is House versus Senate. They like to do this contrast to the House versus Senate. We know that we have a bicameral legislature, meaning that we have two chambers of Congress, or two chambers of the legislature. And those two chambers, House and Senate, have a number of differences. So I wanted today to just sort of review and talk a little bit about some of those differences. So to start with, we've got differences in population, okay? We have in the House of Representatives 435 members, where in the Senate we've only got 100. Okay, that's good, concrete, tangible difference between the two. The reason that we have this difference in population is over here, the Senate, these are made up of 2 per state, where in the House of Representatives, it is based on a state's population. So it's based on a state's population. Okay, some other main differences that we see as a result of this. In the Senate, things are going to be typically more informal, more relaxed. The reason being, there's only 100 of them. They kind of get to know each other a little bit. Over here in the House, it is more formal. 435 people, they've got to have a lot more rules when it comes to speaking on different things. So that's a major difference as well. In the Senate, it's seen as more prestigious, okay? We have a number of senators that end up running for executive office, typically running for president from their position in Senate. In the House, it's seen as sort of less prestigious. It's an entry level into federal government from the representation standpoint. A couple of other major things. In the House, you serve 2-year terms. Okay, you're only in there for 2 years before you're up for re-election, whereas in the Senate, it is a 6-year term, and it's staggered. Okay, what that means in terms of staggered is that every 2 years, a third of the Senate seats come up for re-election versus every 2 years, all of the House seats come up for re-election. Now, there are some other differences too in terms of the committee structure, in terms of procedure in these houses. In the Senate, the official leader of the Senate is what we call the Senate pro tem. That's the official leader, as well as the vice president, who's considered the president of the Senate. But really, the VP is only there to break ties. That's the only thing that the vice president actually does in the Senate, is if there's a 50-50 tie, the VP serves as the tiebreaker. The Senate pro tem is essentially the person that's ostensibly in charge of calling on speakers and what have you, but realistically, that's not something that's enforced heavily. Normally, they just let younger congressmen get up, younger senators come up and be POs, the presiding officer for a time. So that's not really a major thing. In the Senate, the main power is held by the majority leader and the minority leader to a lesser extent. Over in the House, by comparison, the real power is the Speaker of the House. That's the presiding officer in the House of Representatives, is the Speaker. The reason that the Speaker is so important, that is the person that appoints the different committee chairmen in the House and Senate. So that's obviously a very important responsibility. They also set the rules, call on different people, set rules for amendments, all those types of things. So that's just kind of a quick breakdown on some of the differences in House versus Senate. What I'd like you guys to do at some point over the next couple days, and I'll have another YouTube video up on Wednesday, hopefully for everybody, although it may be a mixture of econ and gov. What I'd like you guys to do is go online and take a look at Quizlet for Congress. So if you Google AP Gov or AP Government, Congress Quizlet, the very first one that pops up is going to be the very first link that pops up on Google. You want to click on that. It's 47 flashcards with vocabulary, and that's a really, really good thing to take a look at because I really believe that in some form or fashion, with a written response, that it's very likely there's going to be some distinction, some aspect of Congress that's going to be in that question. I would have to think that something from Congress is going to be in that question. So it's really good. It gets into a lot of vocabulary that we did. Log rolling, which is, for two members of the House or Senate, I vote for your bill, you vote for mine. The filibuster, which is a way for senators to keep a vote from coming up, keep a bill from basically coming to a vote in the Senate. So that's something that talks about. So if you wouldn't mind, go through, again, AP Gov, Congress, Quizlet. Take a look through there, just to kind of refresh our memories a little bit on the vocabulary. Give me some comments below if this was good, if this is helpful, if this is not helpful, what you'd like me to do different. I'll be emailing you guys out with additional information as I receive it. But for right now, this is kind of how we're going to do our direct instruction. Take care, stay safe. Hope to see you guys soon.